Hello there, my name is Kate Power and my experiences working in the mental health sector in recent times have left me with very real concerns for those accessing mental health supports. I'd really like to use this forum to hear the knowledge, experiences and concerns of others in the sector. I'd like to test my knowledge and experiences against yours and also test my concerns. I'd like to see if they're just mine, just specific to regional areas, or if indeed they are concerns held by more in the sector. By testing them, I, and hopefully a more collective we, may be able to ascertain the best platforms to raise our concerns and advocate for the vulnerable clients that we work with. So what are my concerns? In short, community mental health supports are being transitioned to the National Disability Insurance Scheme, or the NDIS, under the term psychosocial disability. I'm concerned about the ability of individuals with mental health conditions to navigate the scheme, their willingness to commit to the scheme, whether stigma associated with mental health is being reduced by the scheme, and whether practitioners will be able to practice within the recovery framework that's been at the forefront of practice in recent times. They are my concerns in short, but let me expand on them more. Community-based mental health support programs such as the Personal Helpers and Mentors program, known as FAMS in my hometown of Mudgee, are transitioning the services they provide over to the NDIS. In the past, this block-funded program has provided mental health supports to those aged 16 and up without requiring a formal diagnosis for program eligibility, and support has been provided within a recovery-orientated practice model. Funding for the program is being steadily reduced, and by 30 June, funding will cease for the program, with the forecast that 70% of existing FAMS clients will be eligible for the NDIS. The NDIS application process is underway within our existing Mudgee FAMS client base, and in our experience, only approximately 30% of clients who have submitted a psychosocial disability application have been successful. The support for those who are ineligible for the NDIS in this town is limited. Firstly, there is their general practitioner who may be able to assist them with medication or a mental health plan for 6 sessions with a psychologist, with wait lists of up to 3 months. The second option is the New South Wales Health operated community health staff, who provide an intake, assessment and referral service with no therapeutic supports. The third option is costly therapeutic appointments with psychologists and counsellors in private practice, again with wait lists of up to 3 months. The intermediate review into the NDIS by Mavros, Moskos and Matau recently found that those with a psychosocial disability have reported less choice and control over access to supports, difficulty navigating the NDIS processes, are less able to articulate support needs, and report limited access to services in non-metropolitan areas. This report confirms the experiences of my own clients in Mudgee that I've observed. I've observed confusion and distress in clients that in my opinion has been detrimental to their mental health and has not resulted in significantly different support options despite the complex process. I have concerns about the willingness of individuals to commit to the scheme, and by this I mean to the stringent eligibility requirements of the NDIS, including formal diagnosis of a mental health condition that is severe and persistent and likely to be lifelong. In addition, it requires those with mental health conditions to identify as having a psychosocial disability, and disability is not a term that in more recent times these individuals have had to identify with, and may indeed increase stigma associated with mental health. I have had a young 22-year-old male client decline to make an application for the NDIS supports for this very reason. Stigma associated with mental health began in Australia's early history, as those with mental illness were often placed in custodial treatment settings and lunatic asylums, with little emphasis on treatment. And we have now returned to using a term, psycho, in psychosocial disability to define mental health. This is in direct contrast to Australia's 5th National Mental Health Plan, which defines a key priority as the reduction of stigma associated with mental health, recognising that stigma leads to shame, rejection and a sense of devaluing. And according to the 2014-15 Australian National Health Survey, 17% or 4 million Australians have experienced a mental health condition. 65% of those did not access mental health services, and it may be argued that associated stigma was part of the reason for this. We now have a national scheme which may impact negatively on attempts to reduce stigma by the sector and advocacy groups such as the Black Dog Institute and Beyond Blue. My final concern that I would like to voice in this piece is our ability as practitioners to remain working within a recovery-orientated practice model. Since the mid-2000s, there's been recognition that stigma is both undesirable and unjustified, and with this there's been a trend towards gradual implementation of recovery-orientated and evidence-informed practices by Australian government-funded mental health services, and this is reinforced by the principles of the National Mental Health Plan. Recovery represents a movement away from pathology, illness and symptoms to health, strengths and wellness. Eligibility requirements of a proof of diagnosis, a diagnosis that is severe, persistent and likely to be lifelong, are at complete odds with recovery-orientated principles aligned to hope. We as practitioners will be required to ethically support consumers to make applications within the NDIS framework. Will we as practitioners be able to adapt our practice to ensure that the NDIS does not foster consumer dependency on the system by discouraging recovery? Will we as practitioners be able to manage consumer acceptance of the uncomfortable notion of lifelong disability? It's my hope that this post has been a conversation starter. Are your experiences with the NDIS applications different from those in my region? What have been the experiences of your clients applying for the scheme? Have you found ways to remain committed to implementing recovery-orientated principles under the NDIS? I genuinely look forward to hearing from you as peers and colleagues as we navigate this enormous sector reform together. Thank you for listening, and I'd love to continue the conversation with you on our Facebook page.